Hello, everybody. Welcome to this presentation. I want to tell you something about the evolution of tech career, and to be more specific, it's about my tech career. Yeah, so it will be quite a personal story about what I did so far in my personal life, and happy that you're here and want to listen to that. So who am I? I'm Stefanie Engel. I'm Director of Software Engineering at Project A. And I've been with Project A for more than 10 years now. I can give you many insights into different companies within the Project A portfolio, but that's mainly it. So Project A is my first employer, and I'm still with them. So I mainly work with Project A and portfolio companies. So yeah, all my insights and experiences are basically coming from that Project A bubble, you could say, and I'm fully aware that it might be different in other companies, but today it's my story. So you could ask yourself, okay, why is that interesting? In the end, you're already here, so I hope you won't leave now. But still, I want to share a bit of what you can expect from me, or maybe what you can't expect. I didn't put together a slideshow that is fancy because I didn't want to do slides in the first place, but then I wasn't sure if people are still able to concentrate for 30 minutes on one person speaking. So I put together some slides, but if you just listen to me, I think you will get much more than by reading the slides. And I also don't want to provide some general career advice. I don't want to tell you that I know exactly what you need to do to come to get into a leadership position. I can just share what I did. So I will tell you about the different seniorities that I've already been in and what that meant to me mainly. And as I'm working for Project A, that basically means that there is a seniority or a role that you have within Project A, and there's also one that you have at portfolio companies. And maybe to explain that a bit, some words about Project A, because I'm not fully aware if you know about us. So Project A is an operational VC. So that means we invest money, but we also have an operational team of people that support our portfolio companies. There are many operational teams, and one of them is the tech team, which consists of system administration, tech consulting, and software engineering. Then software engineering consists of front-end, back-end, and infrastructure. And if you're working at Project A, you belong basically to one team. So if you're a front-end engineer, you belong to the front-end team within Project A. But at a portfolio company, you can do something different, right? Probably will still be front-end, but maybe it's front-end engineer in the checkout squad or something like that. I think there will also be a little clearer after my talk probably, but just to say that in advance to give you some insights. All right. So I wanted to start the story basically with how I joined Project A, but maybe some more words in advance. So I wasn't really into software engineering or programming for, I would say, the first 22 years of my life. So I did have no interest at all in that area. I did not like computer science class. I did not have programming as a hobby, and I did not want to do that professionally. When it came to my studies, I chose biochemistry. And also in university, I didn't want to do bioinformatics, and I didn't sign up for programming courses. But at some point, I realized that, I don't want to do biochemistry for work or for my living, actually. And I was a bit lost. I needed to find some other things that excite me. So I decided to try out new stuff. And one of those things was, I built a website. So I found a tutorial explaining with plain HTML, how to build a website. And it was pretty amazing to me. I could just type some words and then something would happen on the screen. Yeah, great. And I thought, maybe that is something that I want to do for my living. But I didn't want to learn everything on my own. I didn't want to spend years in tutorials. I wanted to search for someone who could teach me. And I didn't want to engage in another round of studies directly because with the first try, I was quite disappointed. So in Germany, there's something that's called apprenticeship. So you go to school and you also work in a company, basically somewhat in parallel. And that sounded quite good to me. Yeah? You could learn some theory, but you could also get some real life practice directly, not just after years of studying, for example. So I searched for some opportunities, open positions, and I applied, and I also got the job or the apprenticeship at Project A. And I didn't know of that company before, like it was only founded a year before I joined. I never heard of it. I wasn't connected to the startup world in any way or to venture capital. And I think I probably also did not convince with my HTML skills in the interview, but like something did convince them, obviously. And yeah, I got the chance. And I was super thrilled, really. So I started with an internship, and I was introduced to the Java backend team. And I was also assigned a mentor. And this team was busy working mainly. Yeah, I didn't know a thing, so I still had to learn most of the stuff on my own. But my mentor also took time to assign tasks to me and to sit next to me while he was doing code review of my solutions, basically. And he could tell me directly like what he thought of that. He also sometimes printed out my code and then like wrote with a pen in the pages. That was also quite funny. But yeah, somehow that messages really stuck there, and I learned a lot in really a short amount of time and was super beneficial. And I don't think that there's really a better way to start. So what did I learn? Obviously, Java, object-oriented programming, how to work with an IDE, with version control. But I think more importantly, that code needs to be readable, understandable, maintainable. I guess all of you know that words, and also well-structured and consistent. Yeah, and I think that was the most valuable learning that I could have at that point in time. So here also a bit of the overview that I promised you. So I kept on with the internship, and then afterwards the apprenticeship, and then like my role at Project A was first intern and then apprentice, and that was the same basically with our portfolio companies. So when I supported, I was also employed as like intern trainee in the backend area. And it was basically all about learning, right? And I spent all my time also learning and coding more or less. So I think I told way too much already about this stage. Probably it's not very interesting, but like I still wanted to share because it was kind of the beginning of my career, and for me it was super important, obviously. But after finishing the apprenticeship, then I was employed as junior Java developer at Project A. And yeah, main responsibilities were still to improve my coding skills and to fulfill the tasks that I was assigned to. And I was working with multiple portfolio companies, and at one specifically, they needed rather front-end support than back-end support. So I was asked, okay, could you imagine to also support the front-end team maybe? I thought, okay, I mean, it's pretty early in my career, back-end is fun, but yeah, why not give front-end a try as well? So I agreed, and I started to support as junior front-end developer this company and also several others. And then at one specific company, it was quite fun because they were super early stage. So the team was tiny, and we were building the first version of the product more or less. So everybody was kind of responsible for everything. It was, of course, a bit chaotic, but it was also a nice atmosphere. Just everybody was encouraged to participate and to do whatever they could to support. And I gained insights not only in software engineering but also in QA and product management and sales, and also in like general business. So I felt super productive in that company because I could do front end and I could also do back end. And I was thinking at that time, okay, probably I want to be a full stack engineer. And then like one colleague of mine kind of blew my dreams because he said, you know, if you want to be really good at one, then you have to decide. There's not enough time, and it's just too much to learn. decide for rather front end or back end. Otherwise, yeah, you will only be mediocre by basically. And I thought about it, and I thought, okay, probably he is kind of right. So I decided that I want to be rather a backend engineer. I mean, styling things and putting colors on them and positioning them, that was all fun. But in the end, like complex SQL queries and complicated logic in Java was even more fun to me. So yeah, I decided to join the backend team again. So the team that I worked with before, the Java team. And yeah, I was happy with that until I actually was back with the people and I realized that, yeah, the team did not change, but like I changed a lot, right? I learned a lot of stuff during that time with the early stage startup, but also in the different team. Like I knew other processes and ways of working. I gained much more independence. And within the Java team, I was still like the junior. So like every tiny implementation step was put in my tickets and there was no freedom or finding my own solution for anything. So yeah, I got a bit unhappy, I would say. And luckily my boss at that point in time like realized it and he asked me what's wrong. And we discussed a bit and I think we both came to the conclusion that probably like my urge for having more freedom and independence is a sign that maybe I'm not a junior anymore, right? Maybe it's time for me to proceed and to get a promotion. And with that promotion, yeah, the job title changed a bit, but I mean, what changed more, I think, was my responsibilities, yeah, my freedom, my independence. And I was also assigned like a special task, I would say, because I had quite an interest in how to have good processes in order to have great collaboration within the team. And yeah, my boss basically said that could be my special task that I put extra effort in and drive within the team. So that was super nice. I think the medium stage was kind of, yeah, it was quite quick for me at least. So not counting the years, but like from the experience, it was kind of not everything was new anymore. And yeah, kind of standard what I was doing. But one special thing that I did in that time was to take a deep dive into infrastructure. So again, at a portfolio company, there was a need for rather support on the infrastructure side of things. And I decided that I would happily do that X course. And yeah, I worked with Terraform and Kubernetes mainly. It was also quite cool to have that experience because like at this point, I could just by executing a command like destroy or create whole environments. Yeah, there was an awesome feeling somehow. And I was also enabling the software engineering team somehow. That was also quite cool, and I liked that. And at some point, I focused more on backend again, but I think the realization here was really that like infrastructure and application, that's not two separate worlds, right? Like they have to go hand in hand and collaborate. And the more developers or software engineers know about the infrastructure as well, the better the outcome in the end. So at that portfolio company where I also did that infrastructure deep dive, I stayed quite long for several years, and I really became, I would say, an expert in this stack. And I would also honestly say that at some point I was a bit bored, maybe. So my mentor from Project A, who was also supporting the company, took the chance to like assign some new tasks to me. For example, I was participating in candidate interviews for the portfolio company, but also for Project A itself. And I was also more included in technical discussion. He also took the time to explain to me how he would usually start a technical discussion by providing a concept and sharing that with everybody, and then using that as the basis for a discussion on that, and then like finding a solution together. And I was also starting to write my own technical concepts at that point in time. Anyways, like with that knowledge that I have, that I had about the company, it was quite easy for me, and I was also willing to do that, to provide technical documentation, to onboard new joiners, and also to write technical tickets to support the product manager. So yeah, my responsibilities were all of that, and I think I spent maybe 80% of my time still on coding, which I feel was a great way to do it. Also, I realized that job titles are not everything, right? I could easily convince my team members just with the expertise that I had. I didn't need some fancy title or role. In discussions, I had the feeling that it's way more important what you have to say. And I think in a good environment, that should always be the case, right? Like, it's not about a job title, but it's about the content that you are providing, and that should also convince your teammates to consider your opinion, but also maybe go with your suggestion. So retrospectively, with doing all that, probably at that mid-level stage, I already did a lot of what usually seniors need to do. And at some point, yeah, it was clear that the promotion is probably something that should be done. Wasn't that big of an argument at this point in time. And yeah, I started to support our portfolio companies as a senior backend engineer. But already, I would say, with the willingness to also go beyond that. And at some point in time, there was an option to support also as a technical leader. And yeah, I was the leader of the Java team, or probably in the Spotify model, it would be rather Java chapter, because it was I was supposed to align the Java developers that were all spread across cross-functional teams. And it was mainly about finding best practices and standards that we wanted to set for the project in order to deliver consistent code quality. And I was also aligning with the other technical leads, like from other chapters, on like commonly used functionality to discuss that and find solutions for that. And when I was offered the position, I would say it felt a bit strange also in the very beginning, because I wasn't the most experienced Java developer in the team. And I thought, like, okay, and now I'm here to tell those guys what to do. That's kind of strange. But then I realized that that's not necessarily the task that you have if you're leading a team or a chapter, right? Like, there are different leadership styles, obviously, and I knew about that in theory, and also from like real life experience. And I really sat down and thought, okay, what kind of leader do I want to be like, and maybe also what is my personality? Because I think if you're choosing a style that does not match your personality well, then probably you're acting or pretending quite a bit in your professional life. So what did I want? I wanted participation, definitely, from my teammates. I wanted to know their opinions and ideas. I wanted to give them the feeling that they can share everything openly, and that they also can come with all their problems to me. And I would say that in the end, it was democratic and probably also servant leadership style, and that it worked out okay. So decision-making was slow, definitely. I felt that. If you have to align everybody, if you want to get everybody's opinion, and in the end also kind of approval or at least buy-in, there's a lot of talking involved, a lot of meeting, and I really had to learn how to conduct productive meetings. Yeah, for example, by time boxing the discussions, or by making people focus on what we're talking about currently. But also that part of the servant leadership kind of brought the problem that I was really involved in every tiny mood swing that the Java developers had. Yeah, so everything was laid on me, and I was kind of supposed to find some solutions for their issues, which wasn't possible. Yeah, it was super time consuming and also frustrating that I couldn't help everybody. But I also realized at some point that probably that is not my job, right? Like, I'm not their therapist. So in the end, we're adults and we're professionals, and we're also working in the team. That always means that there are consequences. And we're also working in a business. That means like there are certain constraints, right? Yeah, and I felt that it really helped for me to realize that it's okay that I can't solve every problem that each of the developer has, but also for them, like I still listened, of course, but then I also honestly said, all right, I understand your point, but there's nothing that we can do about that, right? That's just not in our power to change. And yeah, that helps in, I think, expectation handling, but also for them to come to terms with, with the circumstances. Yeah, so I think that was quite a nice learning for me. So what were my responsibilities at that point in time? I was supposed to bring up like issues that I saw and then discuss them, find solutions. I was again doing interviews on my own, then mainly for potential candidates. I was still onboarding the candidates. I was still writing technical specifications, concepts, and documentation. And yeah, I spent a lot of time in meetings, probably you can imagine already. So I think I spent maybe 50% still on coding, 50% in meetings. But I also realized that that's okay, right? Like I don't mind, and I felt that I'm still quite productive when coding, but also productive in the meetings that I'm conducting. So was still quite happy with everything. And then for the next step, I would say it was, also again an opportunity that this time came at Project A. So when I was promoted to head of Java backend, it was because my mentor from the very beginning left the company. So at one point he became my boss, and when he left, the position was free. So I was asked if I would want to step into his footprints. Not sure if that is so saying in English. Yeah, and I accepted that. And this was the first time that I really did people management. Yeah, so before it was more about technical coordination, and this time it was really about people and people within Project A. So I had to do salary negotiations. I had to do career development conversations. I had to see if my team was happy, and if not, what I could do about that. I had to do resource planning. I had to see if we're lacking competencies or if we're having too many people that don't have anything to do. So I needed to spec out skills that we're searching, right? And also write the job ads, conduct the interviews, and also to I also had to take the decision in the end who to hire. And also there in the beginning, I would say that I was kind of not convinced that I'm at the right stage to do that already. And I also openly talked about that with my boss, and yeah, he encouraged me to give it a try. And I think in the end, it was a good decision to take that step. So for Project A, I was head of Java backend. And within the portfolio companies, I was rather doing technical project management, I would say. And I really enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, so that was amazing. Like not 2 days were ever the same. There were always new challenges and issues and people that you had to interact with. And yeah, I figured out that it's really fun to me. But I also realized that doing that job, yeah, probably still coding and doing that job is not the best idea. So I was super busy with writing technical specifications, documentation, concepts, and aligning everybody around that. And this was also an enabler for the software engineers that were working with me in the end. They needed that requirements and decisions. And I realized that although I like coding, if I spend my time coding, I'm not doing the other thing, and that's kind of blocking the team then. And also, if I spend my time coding and I'm always distracted, I'm not really producing good quality anymore. And also, if I spend my time coding, or I promise that I will spend my time coding and I'm agreeing to implement a feature and my team relies on that and it's not coming, then same problem, right? And I'm not even blocking, not just blocking the team, but also like messing up our delivery in the end. Yeah, so I took the decision that it's probably time to stop coding. Of course, sometimes I still feel the need like to play around a bit, but then it's really in side projects or in my spare time, not professionally anymore. Yeah, and I think that was like a good decision in the end. Yeah, I never regretted that, and I'm totally fine with the state that it is right now, that I'm doing rather management and not that much of coding anymore. So I think that's also still what I'm doing today. Mainly, yeah, a bit different in that new role, which is now director. But in many things, it's still the same. When I was asked to step into that position of director of software engineering, I was super happy. I accepted it gratefully, and yeah, still super happy that I did it. So that means that now I'm responsible for the front end, back end, and infrastructure team at Project A, which is very nice. And for portfolio companies, I'm basically a sparring partner when it comes to software engineering topics. Yeah, that can be everything from processes to development of the team, system architectures, and also general leadership questions. And I'm spending much more time on doing consulting with many of our portfolio companies, but I still also have the opportunity to do really deep dives and spending long-term projects with one single company, sometimes also in interim roles, for example, interim VP engineering. And yeah, I really like that. So yeah, in the end, my responsibility now is to make sure that Project A has a software engineering team that has the required capabilities, but it's also embracing diversity and fostering a positive team culture, and that our portfolio companies have basically a sparring partner that they can talk to. That means that I, for example, have to do quick deep dives into system architectures and understand them quite quickly. I should also be able to develop system architectures, existing ones or also from scratch. Yeah, and help in team development and yeah, also in general leadership, as I already mentioned. So with all of that, I'm still quite satisfied, I have to say. Like, I really like my job still, to be honest. I'm very happy where I ended up in the end. I'm super grateful for all the valuable experiences that I could gain during the last 10 years. And yeah, I'm looking forward to everything else that is still coming. Thank you for your attention.
Maybe a question for me. So I would say a big topic for software developers is the imposter syndrome. So you say, okay, what am I doing here? Why are they paying me so much to do this stuff? I can't do anything. And then at some point you have this moment where you solve the problem, where you solve whatever you code, whatever you want to do, and you say, okay, I'm pretty good at this. And I still got it. And it's, for me, it's one of the best part of the job. Do you have something similar once you stepped up over this?
Yeah, it's very similar if you, for example, have a company in front of you that tries to figure out what a good system architecture it would be to build or how to solve a specific problem that they have. and that you can sit down and think about that and like juggle some ideas with your colleagues and then come up with a good idea, and they're following that suggestion. That gives me similar pleasure, to be honest. But in general, I think it's not that different. I mean, of course, I'm not writing code, but I'm writing other stuff, right? So what I always thought is that if you are a programmer, you probably enjoy writing in some way, and that's definitely true for me, and that I can do. I'm still solving problems. It's just higher level problems. Not that algorithm anymore, but rather how that system is working.
Yeah, thank you, Stefanie, for the nice talk. Given that you came from a back-end background, when you started collaborating and leading with front-end and platform, did you find some like challenges or issues there? And if you find, what are the practices that you try to use to overcome those?
I mean, because my background is rather in the back-end area. Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely helpful to at least have some insights into the other areas as well. So I'm not like blind to that, and have a certain understanding, although for like, it was quite some time ago already. And like for front-end, for example, I think everything changed probably. I mean, I'm never pretending anything. I think that's quite important. If I don't know technology or framework or whatever, and like one of the front-end engineers is trying to like tell something about that, I just openly say, okay, I don't know that. Can you please like give me some insights here, or give me some time? Then I can like maybe get the insights myself. But in general, I would say the issues aren't very, or what the issues, the conversations aren't very specific, whether it's front-end or back-end or infrastructure. For me, an important part is really to like moderate the discussion, right? To be efficient or effective in that, to have a meeting with an outcome, with a structure, to give everybody preparation, for example, before starting off with the topic. So that is more what I would say is important in the collaboration with the others, and that's independent of the programming language.
And I assume the other teams like platform or front end, they also have tech leads, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you collaborate with them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so each of the teams, front end, back end, and infrastructure, they have a head of basically, and of course they're supporting me. Yeah.
Seems like mentorship played a huge role, especially.
Yeah.
Where does mentorship end? And
Okay. I mean, my mentor, like at least for me, wasn't my manager for most of the time, right? So he didn't have, I mean, it was a different connection that we had, right? He didn't do salary negotiations with me. He could encourage me to ask for more salary if he thought that I was doing a valuable job. So I think if you're purely a mentor, that's quite clear. So you can talk more open. There are no other considerations than to bring forward your mentee. If you are a manager, of course, it's also part of your job to mentor your peers or your team members. For me, I would say at Project A, at least, it's super difficult. Because we are often not working on the same topics in the same companies. So of course, people can come with questions to me, but to really do a mentorship where you see hands-on what the other is doing and giving advice, that's only working if you're working for the same company, from my point of view. Otherwise, I'm not able to understand the problem. I don't know the people, I don't know the circumstances and stuff like that. So I would say for us, it ends probably at that point that you're not sharing the same experiences. And when I'm a manager, that's fine, but then I can't be a mentor in that sense. I'm not sure. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. For how long did you have the mentor?
I mean, 6 years, I would say, at least.
So.
I think it was on the edge of senior. I mean, it changed, of course, over time, right? In the beginning, it was a very intense relationship, and then it got less and less. But for me, like, it was very important in the beginning, and then it was very important when I figured out that I want to be rather in a leadership position, to have someone who can back me up and give tips and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for sharing the story. I have a question more about how does it feel about working about Project A?
Mhm.
As far as I understand, you working a lot with portfolio companies.
Yeah.
That means that you're jumping quite open from project to project.
Yeah.
Have you ever kind of wished to stay with some company for longer, to go with that journey like few years and actually, like
I mean, I did stay with some companies for several years. Yeah, I think the longest was 3.5 years, and the second longest 2 years. But no,
no?
because to be honest, I'm asked pretty often to stay there by the company. Yeah, of course, they can offer me a job, and I'm free to leave Project A if I like. But I was never tempted. No, because for me, it's much more interesting to jump the topics. Yeah, I don't really want to stay at a specific product or in a specific team. Yeah, it's nice to be there, and sometimes I'm also sad to leave, but I was never tempted to really stay. No. Yeah.
Thanks for the insight, personally. I would imagine you've seen a lot of startups. I personally am a business founder, so not so much of a technical side. So what are the most common mistakes business founders do in part of their startup?
Yeah, that's a very broad question. I think it goes in all directions. So the founder can be too involved and thereby blocking the software engineering team, for example, can be not involved enough and not knowing anything of what's happening. So it's very important to find a balance so that you're informed, yeah, at least, and have a good understanding also of the capabilities within the team and the quality that they produce. I think also an open relationship with maybe a tech lead or whoever might be in place is very important. And then when it really comes to what you build, yeah, I think also goes in all directions. So you can be too much focused on building a perfect product before even pushing out the first version, yeah, and spend years and years on building the perfect thing and never get it out in the end. Also saw that happen. But you can also push out MVP that's not working and thereby scaring all the customers that see that your stuff is not working and will never come back. So yeah, it's all about the balance basically. And a really trustful relationship between the founder and the technical counterpart, I think. Yeah.
As you transition from coding into more project management, leading people, when you said you code 50% and you kind of do other stuff 50%, how would you make sure you would have enough uninterrupted time to actually stay in that tunnel where you probably do your coding, whereas having a bunch of meetings, would you block off certain days or would you have other tech
blockers in my calendar for certain hours? Or if I knew that on the meeting post-processing side, there's not so much important to do, maybe also days or mute Slack and stuff like that, the common things. Yeah, in the back.
You said your superpower is bringing people together, communicating. I got you right with all the different companies that you've seen. Was there something in terms of communication, collaborative culture, and engineering teams that was particularly good or that you particularly liked?
I mean, as long as everybody is feeling that they're allowed to speak up and tell their opinion, I think everything is fine, right? Like if you are in a company where the engineering team is feeling that they have to hide stuff, that they're not allowed to speak, whether it's junior, senior, CTO, that is always an issue. Or also if I mean, what also is always an issue is that engineers are not communicating well enough, and that the business perception is very bad. And I think I did not see an especially good example of that, but several very bad examples, that really the business or the management, the C-level was not aware of what's happening in the engineering team. And I mean, that's not good, right? Because then they can easily get the impression that nothing is happening and that they're asking themselves why they're putting that much money in there. So that's very often an issue. And if you find a mode where that's working pretty well, I mean, that would be an example of a very good one. Simon.
Maybe as a follow-up, so you said it's important that everyone feels they can speak up if you just maybe talk to be positive, so people don't dare to criticize and try to sugarcoat or get down to the you have a story to tell how to solve.
Not No, I mean, I was working in a rather toxic environment once, I would say, but that was really fear of the leadership rather. I mean, of course, that can then end up in sugarcoating as well. But I was very junior, and like I also today, I wouldn't know 100% how to solve that. I mean, it's always quite, depending on the surroundings. Yeah, good question. What's the time, Jakob?
With 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I was wondering because you said the communication is the main part of the job, right? Specification. Would you say? So I think I did very different styles of product management. So I'm a product manager, no background. But let's say the tickets that I'm writing, different level of details, and sometimes it depends on the developer, sometimes it depends on my situation. Would you say your job is in a big part also covering the product managers? If they did their job really well, you would have much less to do, or is it completely different in nature?
I wouldn't say that, no. I mean, yeah, the product manager has often a different point of view where he comes from, right? I mean, I'm really talking about technical implementation details, putting those to tickets. So if you imagine like the usual user story and then break that down to subtasks, yeah, it will probably be the subtasks and really explaining there what to do. And I would not expect that from product managers because there's like really deep technical knowledge, depending on the product, of course, but sometimes very deep technical knowledge and insights into the stack necessary. So I think it's totally fine to have something like technical product managers or something on that, like that on the side. Yeah.
In this kind of job hopping role, did you find skills particular to that capability to kind of ramp up?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's always hard to observe yourself on skills, right? But I would say that it is kind of important that you're quick in getting stuff right. Like if someone is trying to explain something to you, it's kind of important that you're understanding it correctly, maybe in a rather short amount of time and without that person like talking for hours and hours and hours. That I think in German it would be schnelle Auffassungsgabe or something. I'm not sure if somebody can translate that. I think that is definitely helpful. Yeah, so quick thinking, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I assume you have quite a lot of experience in hiring technical things and working with them. My question is, what do you see from your perspective? What are the like 3 major problems with hiring technical people?
I think like at least the one major problem is that it's really hard to assess skills in an interview. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of coding challenges, neither before the interview nor during the interview. I don't like live coding because I don't want to pressure the people too much, to be honest. And I don't want to waste their time, right? Like I think time is precious and I don't want to give them a coding task where they need to spend weeks in order to hand that in the end. So that is like often also just kind of a feeling that you get when people are talking about their experiences, you know, that typical questions, can you tell me about a specific problem that you solved or so? And then the kind of how people approach that and talk about that can give you at least an idea of how they approach problems and their technical understanding and their possibility to also convey that to other people. But really on the level of how they write code, it's just super hard to assess. And like, of course, you can do coding challenges, but like I usually don't do it. So that's then really in the probation period to check that in depth if the outcome is as you expected, and if not, then also part again with the.
Would you simply say then at the actual the technical interview process, you're still basically hiring for the potential, then basically the technical stuff?
I mean, you can ask technical questions in a technical interview, right? Like I can ask about object-oriented programming and see if people have a basic understanding, but what does it mean in the end? Maybe they just knew the question already from a different interview, right? Or maybe they specifically read about that before, but that doesn't tell me if they're really able to write good code in the end.
Maybe one last if I have the time, basically. No,
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No worries.
But thank you very much. It was
Thank you.
super insightful.